Hello everyone, today we are breaking down Season 2, Episode 7, Voleth Meir of The Witcher. Remember to like the video, helps out the channel a lot, and subscribe, and yada yada yada. Let's get to it. The first thing we see is Geralt looking at the men, the Michelet brothers he killed last episode. He finds Redanian coins on the bodies. There is different currency in the different kingdoms. This gives him a lead. Mother Netica sees the crystal ball that Ciri is supposed to be using for her mage training. It has cracked. It is not supposed to do this. This just illustrates how powerful Ciri is. Netica is trying to convince Geralt not to go after Ciri, that she cannot be helped. Her power is just too great. Geralt is hearing none of this. He swore to protect the girl, and that is what he's going to do. Geralt asks Mother Netica to open a portal for him, so we find out that Mother Netica is a mage, which is different from the books. But as some of you may remember, portals can be traced, so I don't know why Geralt just doesn't go directly to the girls, but whatever. We now find ourselves with Ciri and Yennefer. Ciri portaled them to Zola's house. If you remember, in Season 1, Zola took Ciri in at the end of the season before she met Geralt. Yennefer says that is why the portal Ciri made brought them here, because this is a place where Ciri felt safe. Ciri asks Yen if they should try to portal back to Geralt. Yennefer shoots this down real quick. Remember, Ciri has no idea that Yennefer is using her to get her powers back. We then find out what happened to Zola and her husband. They were killed by Rience. Rience was only given one lead, that Ciri was last seen by a village near Sodden. So Rience must have found the family. They must have said that Geralt took the girl, which led Rience to Jaskier to ask about Geralt's whereabouts. But before Rience left, he killed the family. Yennefer then plays Ciri here. Ciri believes that Rience is working for Nilfgaard. We know that is not true, but that is what she thinks. Yennefer says if they captured Geralt, they would not kill him, they would use him as bait to lure Ciri in. They would be keeping him near the nearest Nilfgaard outpost. Ciri thinks and remembers it's Cintra. Right now, everything is working out for Yennefer. She literally has a perfect excuse to go to Cintra now. Ciri wants to go alone because she does not want Yennefer to get hurt, since everyone who helps her seems to die. Yennefer says Geralt would kill her if anything bad would happen to her, and the two take off. Conveniently, there are two horses for the two to ride on to get to Cintra. We are now at Aretuza with Tissaia and Vilgefortz. It turns out these two are lovers. It's never mentioned in the books, but they never follow these characters' point of views, so it is possible. Tissaia says that their new position of authority means new responsibilities. She does not want to burden Vilgefortz with her thoughts. So earlier in the season, the two were going for the high seats on the Brotherhood of Sorcerers to demote Artorias and Stregobor. It seems that they have accomplished this. Tissaia tells Vilgefortz that Dijkstra is at Aretuza. She believes that Redania is up to something. Dijkstra is the spy master for Redania and is an overall schemer. We now are at Cintra with Frangilla, Kaer, and Haek, who is a Nilfgaard general. Haek believes that Redania has a spy inside the walls of Cintra. He believes there is one here because that is exactly what he would have done. He goes on to say that thousands of people every day come to Cintra virtually unchecked, not just elves anymore, sympathizers as well, so humans. Haek blames this entirely on Frangilla. Frangilla was trying to rebuild their army, which is the reason behind this alliance with the elves. Kaer agrees with both of them, but he says that if they're going to bring outsiders into the fold, they need to ensure their allegiance to Nilfgaard. He goes on to say how half the elves didn't even show up for training this morning. Frangilla says she will take care of it and talk to their leader, Francesca. Emperor Emhyr arrives tomorrow, and Kaer does not want him to see this chaos around them. Kaer is trying to help Frangilla. The two do seem to have a friendship. We then see that they have started to try and find the spy, and they are hanging people from the battlements, and Dara, who is the spy, sees this. We now find ourselves with Jaskier. He is in a jail cell in Oxenfurt. Geralt knocks out the guard and opens the cell. The two hug one another. Jaskier, even after the breakup song he literally wrote about Geralt, is happy to see his friend again, even if he doesn't want to admit it. He then tells Geralt off a little bit for leaving him after the Dragon Hunt episode and how Geralt basically told him to F off. Geralt says he needs his help, and Jaskier says fine, he will help him, but there are still unresolved issues between the two. We return to Yennefer and Ciri on their way to Cintra. Ciri wants to get there as quickly as possible because of what could be happening to Geralt. Yennefer points out the two share quite the bond. Ciri says it's like the father she never had. Remember, Ciri never knew her father, he died when she was still a babe. Geralt has been there for her, hasn't lied to her like her grandmother, or Mousak, who was a mentor to her. She says when she is with him, she does not feel alone. Yennefer relates to this. Ciri asks what was between her and Geralt. Yennefer says longing, regret, hope, and fear. Ciri surmises that she also loves him too. We return to Cintra with Francesca and Filavandrel and their elven babe. They are trying to figure out a name for the child. Dara brings them some food, so Dara is quite the spy. He was able to gain the trust of Filavandrel and Francesca quite quickly. Frangilla comes in. She wants to talk about the elves not showing up for training. She is not happy about it. Filavandrel says that many of the elves have had a change of heart, and they do not want to fight for Nilfgaard and die for their war. He says that it is time for the elves to rebuild and grow strong again. Frangilla is pissed. They had a deal. She made Cintra a safe haven for the elves if they would be willing to fight. Now they are trying to back out of it, which I think is quite scummy. Francesca believes these words are Kaer's, not Frangilla's, which they really aren't. This is a very scummy thing to do, the elves are doing. Frangilla says that the bargain they made in the hut is working. Francesca has her baby. Frangilla has Emir's favor. It can stay like this if their bond remains strong. So this is about Frangilla. If the elves decide to back out, she will look like a fool to Emir. Francesca says she values her friendship, but she must protect her blood. Francesca basically has screwed over Frangilla here. We return to Aretuza, and Stregobor, Artorias, Vilgefortz, Tissaia, and Dijkstra are talking. Dijkstra lets them know that a pure-blood elven babe has been born, and it was also born to a mage at that, Francesca. Stregobor is distressed by this news because of his hate for elves. Tissaia scoffs at him for seeing a threat from a baby. Artorias says not all of us have your soft spot for elves. Vilgefortz defends Tissaia, saying she has no soft spots, she's co-chair to this council. Stregobor says, well, you know. So it seems that Stregobor knows these two are banging. This is not against the rules, but it seems like something these two want to keep secret. Stregobor says that the child could be a beacon of hope for the elves, and the child could be an enemy for centuries. Elves live a long time. It cuts to Dijkstra as he watches them bicker at one another. It seems this was what he planned, to see if they let any info slip they don't want to share, but also see how the new leaders, Vilgefortz and Tissaia, act. Tissaia kind of realizes this, saying that Dijkstra did not come all this way just to share gossip. Dijkstra then asks Tissaia about her former student returning here, Triss Merigold, which we saw in the last episode. The other three mages clearly are surprised by this news. Tissaia says that she has fallen ill and came here to recover. Dijkstra retorts that there is something going around, but only up in the mountains. So he knows Triss was at Kaer Morhen. Dijkstra is trying to set up some disorder, some chaos in the Brotherhood of Sorcerers. Last episode, I believe he and the Owl were trying to come up with a plan to take Cintra. This is part of that plan. We are now with Rience and Lydia. Rience is telling her when Ciri portaled out of there, he knew his chance had passed, so he fled. He said he did not have the strength to open a portal himself, that he was aided in his escape, so this is a lie. Once he saw Geralt had finished off the Michelet brothers, he got out of there. He wants to keep the remaining part of his face intact, I think. And he's not going to tell his employer he ran away, so he lied. He wants to see the head boss, the person Lydia works for, but she informs him that he has not been here for days. Rience really wants to meet her boss, so he decides to give her the Witcher mutagens he stole from Vesemir when he was at Kaer Morhen. Lydia wants to run tests on it, and if what she wants to occur happens, then her boss will show up, so that is why Rience is giving it to her. Lydia is going to perform blood tracing on it, which is a spell. I believe it allows you to track the person whose blood you inhale, so they will be able to find Ciri with ease. Lydia says blood tracing is relatively easy and mages have been practicing it for centuries. What Lydia forgets is that there is more than just blood in that vial. there are a bunch of herbs and other sorts of magical things in that vial. Remember, only 3 out of 10 people survive when being administered these mutagens. She inhales it, her face starts to burn, and we see Rience watching as she screams in pain. This does happen in the book, but slightly different. When we see the effects of this, I'll explain it then. We return to Geralt and Jaskier. Jaskier is taking a bath to clean up a bit. Jaskier is surprisingly ripped, like I did not expect that. Geralt asks what Yennefer was doing in Oxenfurt, trying to get any lead where she may be taking Ciri. Jaskier tells him how she saved his life from Rience, how she had lost her magic, but Jaskier believes she was lying because she disappeared into thin air when she was captured by guards. Geralt wants to hear details now. Jaskier says she mentioned something about forests, mothers, and huts and disappeared. Geralt knows what she said. Turn your back into the forest hut. Jaskier confirms this. Geralt knows Yennefer is in league with the Deathless Mother, Voleth Meir. The first Witchers imprisoned her in a hut. That's how he knows about the Deathless Mother. You may remember earlier in the season we heard Vesemir talking about it with Ciri. Geralt does not believe Yennefer would sacrifice Ciri for her magic, but he is somewhat blinded by love. Jaskier, on the other hand, believes that is exactly something she would do, but he is blinded by hate, so the answer lies somewhere in the middle. Geralt then mentions how Voleth Meir is a demon that feeds on pain, which is bad news for Francesca and Frangilla and their wishes. Geralt then says that they need to go to Cintra. How he knows this is never mentioned. I am guessing that he just guessed it would deal with a monolith and Ciri, but it's a good guess. Geralt and Jaskier then meet Yarpen Zigrin. You may remember him in Season 1, he hunted the dragon with Geralt. He is a dwarf and him and his crew hunt monsters. Geralt does meet him in the books as well again, but Ciri is there and Triss is there, and it happens before Ciri goes to temple school. Geralt is in need of a horse. Yarpen gives him one. Geralt says it's not his usual type, but it will do. The horse has black hair. All the roaches beforehand had brown hair. Also, I think the horse's hair reminds me of Yennefer's hair, so maybe he's referencing that as well. Yarpen and his crew have decided to help Geralt in his quest to save Ciri. We return to Ciri and Yennefer. They are trying to cross a river and the bridge is out. The next bridge is a half-day's ride and Ciri says they don't have that kind of time. Yennefer says there is another way around. She wants Ciri to use her chaos to get them across. She says she believes in Ciri, that she can do this. Yennefer says, repeat after me, and says something in Elder speech. Ciri repeats the phrase. Ciri is able to raise the fallen bridge out of the water. Yennefer says to repeat the phrase. Ciri is straining too much and blood starts coming out of her eyes. Yennefer realizes what is happening and tells her to stop, that they can find another route. Yennefer does not want to carry an unconscious body with her and does not want her to kill herself. Ciri stops and starts yelling in anger, and then the two are magically teleported to the other side. Ciri says she is sorry, she has no idea what happened. Yennefer says when you have power like that, never apologize. Very different from the books, it takes Ciri a very long time to master her powers and to even do simple things. We return to Aretuza with Tissaia and Triss Merigold. Tissaia tells Triss how she saw Ciri and Geralt at Sodden. She obviously didn't know at the time it was Ciri. She is about to say who they were looking for at Sodden, but Triss was able to figure it out, Yennefer. Tissaia says they believed Yennefer was dead. Triss looks very sad when hearing this, so I think Triss thought that Geralt knew Yennefer was alive but still chose her instead, which led her to believe he was interested in her, which was not the case. Tissaia wants to know who else knows about Ciri. Triss says just you and the other Witchers. Vilgefortz comes barging in. He is sick of waiting. Triss is a little hurt that Tissaia told him about Ciri. Tissaia says there is too much at stake. This knowledge cannot be ours alone. Vilgefortz wants to know everything about the girl. Triss feels betrayed by Tissaia and walks out of the room. Vilgefortz says this child, Ciri, has the potential to end all war, unless she falls into the wrong hands. Tissaia does not want to put her girls at risk anymore for this. Vilgefortz blows up, yelling at her, saying, I wouldn't ask unless it was necessary. So he's looking at it from the greater good perspective. The risk is worth the outcome. Tissaia starts to leave when Vilgefortz says, I've always considered you my most trusted confidant. I wish I could prove to you I'm worthy of the same. So Vilgefortz wants her to stop hiding these secrets from him and be more open. We now find ourselves with Artorias and Frangilla portals in. He's not exactly happy seeing her since she helped Nilfgaard attack the northern kingdoms at Sodden. She says she is not here for Nilfgaard, she is here as his niece. Frangilla says she may have to leave Nilfgaard. She says how the Emperor is coming tomorrow and has expectations she cannot live up to, since the elves have decided to not fight since the baby was born. Artorias is glad to hear this news, it helps his side. He says if she would return, she would have to apologize for believing she would have any impact for Nilfgaard. He goes on to say that there are mages who are obsessed with finding power and those who know their place. You know which one you are, thank God, or else you wouldn't have come back here. So he is saying she knows her place, but it's kind of an insult in a way, and she doesn't look too happy about it. We return to Cintra, and Dara is talking to the owl. He's basically done spying for Redania. He wants to focus on helping his people, the elves. We return to Kaer and the other generals of Nilfgaard eating. Hake is talking crap about Frangilla. He believes once the Emperor comes in the morning, she is as good as dead because of how disastrous the Elven alliance was. Kaer does not see it that way. He says that we are all on the same side and we're supposed to be looking for Ciri. He seems to be the only one focused on their main goal. The other generals are more focused on the actual war part. All the generals, including Kaer, freeze, and Frangilla walks in. She says she has spiked the mead with Nightshade, which can paralyze people. She says that the most valuable lesson she learned at Aretuza was from Yennefer, that when someone of a lesser light tries to steal what is yours, you do not sit there and take it. If you remember from Season 1, Yennefer was initially assigned to Nilfgaard and Frangilla to Aiden, but Yennefer stole Aiden from her when she was able to seduce the king with her newfound hotness. So Frangilla will not sit around and watch. She will act to keep her power. She then kills all the generals at the table. We hear Voleth Meir in the background egging her on. She leaves Kaer alive, saying the Emperor needs to hear of the treachery she just uncovered, and he needs to hear it from his most trusted general. So the story they are going with is that the generals were planning to overthrow him, and Frangilla stopped them. We now are at Redania with Dijkstra, King Vizimir, and the Owl. Dijkstra informs the king that Dara has had a change of heart and will no longer be spying for them, but Dijkstra says that is fine, we got the info we needed. Once we get Ciri, Redania will be the most powerful kingdom on the continent. Unless Nilfgaard gets her first, which King Vizimir points out. Dijkstra believes that Tissaia knows about Ciri's existence as well, so at least 3 different factions of people that he knows of are after the girl. Dijkstra finishes by saying that he has many more irons in the fire. We are in a strong position, so there are other spies and there's other people looking for Ciri. We return to Geralt and Jaskier heading to Cintra. Jaskier points out how Geralt has changed, that he didn't even want his child surprised in the first place. Now he's traveling across the continent to go and save her. Geralt says he thought ignoring her existence would make everything better, but he was wrong. So in a way he needs Ciri. He is happier when he is around her, and he does not like the idea of her being alone and possibly being killed by Yennefer. Geralt even says if Yennefer hurts her, he may even have to kill her. Jaskier kind of defends Yennefer here, surprisingly enough, saying people do stupid things when they think they are trapped in a corner. Maybe Yennefer's had a change of heart. Geralt does not know, but he does say sorry to Jaskier for yelling at him on the mountain in Season 1, and then Jaskier ridicules him for being so emotional. Just want to say, very funny. I really do like this scene. It's very good. We return to Ciri and Yennefer, and they are just on the outside of Cintra, and they are near the crevice Ciri made after she destroyed the monolith. Ciri tells Yennefer how she destroyed that monolith. Yennefer is in disbelief. As we have seen through the season, monoliths are not supposed to be destroyed like that. Yennefer tells Ciri if they get separated to remember she has magic. It's all you will need. She also says it's a strange sort of pain combined with bliss. This is a reference to the books. It's described like that in the books, and I think it's the first time the show has mentioned it like that. Voleth Meir is in Yennefer's head, telling her to lead Ciri to the monolith. Yennefer starts to stumble and Ciri helps to balance her. When Ciri touches Yennefer, she is able to read her thoughts. Yennefer wants Ciri to turn back, that it's fine if she does. Ciri points out that Yennefer is still trying to lead her there though. Ciri stops touching Yennefer. Yennefer apologizes to Ciri, that she had no idea that she was Geralt's child surprise and how much she means to him. So Yennefer does not want to do this anymore because of Ciri and because she does not want to hurt Geralt. Ciri continues to walk towards Cintra, saying she has to rescue him. Yennefer lets her know that Geralt was never at Cintra. It was a lie to get her here. Ciri turns around and assumes she is in the lead with Rience, that she led him to the temple once she saw Geralt and Ciri there. Yennefer denies this and says she was stupid and selfish and that Ciri needs to come with her now, away from this place. She already lied once to Ciri. Ciri's not going to trust her now. As she says it, though, she taps into her chaos, creating another crevice towards Cintra, which notifies the Nilfgaard soldiers, who send riders towards them. They're trying to capture the two. It's hard to say if they know who Ciri is or not. They don't try killing her after she slices one of them with a knife, so I'm assuming they do know who she is. Geralt with Yarp and Zigrin and his band of dwarves come in the nick of time to save Yennefer and Ciri from the soldiers. Yennefer tries to make sure Ciri is alright, but Geralt puts his sword to her throat. She did kidnap Ciri after all. Geralt tells Ciri that Jaskier will take her back to Kaer Morhen. Ciri wants to stay with Geralt, but he won't allow it, saying he has to slay another monster first. It could be interpreted that he means to kill Yennefer here, or it could be he wants Yennefer to take him to Voleth Meir and kill her. He does have Yennefer say the phrase that takes you to Voleth Meir's hut, so probably the latter. We now find ourselves with Francesca and Filavandrel. Francesca has a dream of her baby being assassinated. She awakes and finds that the dream was real, as Filavandrel is holding the dead babe in his arms. We now find ourselves with Voleth Meir laughing. As Geralt said earlier in the episode, she feeds on pain, so she is getting her fill. She dissolves and is able to escape the hut the Witchers locked her in all those years ago. Geralt and Yennefer get there, but it's too late. Geralt says that she was able to escape because she had her fill of pain and desperation, giving her new life. We then see the sparkles of Voleth Meir enter Ciri, and her eyes turn neon green. It seems that she has taken over Ciri's body. Just a few things to note. I'm guessing that Voleth Meir has the power of foresight, because how else would she know that Francesca's babe would be murdered, and Frangilla's alliance with the elves being disbanded. She's a new character for the show, so there isn't a whole lot of info on her. So what do you think of episode 7 of The Witcher? Leave it down in the comments below. And if you want more Witcher content, please subscribe and like the video. Also check out the Twitter link in the description below. And as always, have an awesome day.